AEW has been great for the last 3 years, but it seems like one blemish that a lot of fans have pointed out is the women's division. What exactly are the problems, and what can Tony Khan do to fix those problems? We're going to talk about it next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. Joining me is Ralph Valenti. Ralph, it seems like Tony Khan is trying to do stuff. Oh, they need more TV time. He gives them more TV time. We see that last week at Dynamite where it's like, yeah, they're getting more TV time, but was it effective TV time? We saw Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida have a very long street fight. Yeah, it was a long match, but I think their matches before that were better. This wasn't really their best match. So is it really that they need longer matches? Is it that they need more TV time? Or is it something else?
I think one of the most glaring problems is, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, and it's not necessarily lack of TV time. It's just lack of investment. The fans are not that invested in some of the women, and that could be a result of a couple of things. One, them not being on TV as often, or two, and maybe more glaring, characters. There's just not much character development. I mean, when you look at Ruby Riott, she was somebody that was brought in, a lot of promotion, a lot of hype surrounding her debut. She had the big debut. She had a couple big matches. She more or less disappeared from TV, or at least from TV in a major role for, I feel like, weeks. It could have been months. She's finally back on TV, but how do you go from being off TV and then going back to TV and having people care? I think that with certain people, it's very clear that you could be like, okay, they came from another promotion. They had a certain amount of hype or whatever surrounding them. We know who they are. Miro could go away and come back tomorrow and still have the same amount of hype behind him and same amount of anticipation from the fans, because people are invested in him because they know who he is. Probably because of the time he spent in the WWE, but then on top of that, some of the good stuff that he did in AEW as well. With somebody like Ruby Riott, she had some TV time. She was never a major champion, and she was never treated like a major champion. So she was just somebody who had some potential. What did AEW do with that potential? So far, not a whole lot. Same could be said for Toni Storm. Yeah, she's doing some backstage segments and stuff like that. Is it good? I would venture to say it's not the best promo work. I think that of everybody that they have in AEW right now, there's two women that have very clearly defined roles that they're very comfortable in, and two characters that you're either going to love or hate. And that is Jade Cargill or that is Britt Baker. And those are the only two. Other than that, you have a lot of talented women that are just kind of struggling to find their footing, because usually the only spot they're ever in is just matches. And that doesn't always work with getting people invested in you as a character.
Right. No, I totally agree, because I put this up on our community poll, and out of the 5 choices, 80% was characters, stories, promos. That was the top choice by a long, long shot. So I agree with you. It's characters, it's stories, it's promos. And I agree with you that right now, the only two that really have a definitive character, have decent promo work, and, have stories behind them are Britt Baker and Jade Cargill. Now, a lot of them, you might think they have characters because of how they dress and, how they act in the ring. But really, when you think about it, what really is their character? Thunder Rosa, for example, she's the AEW Women's Champion. I think one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. But when you think about it, what is the character of Thunder Rosa? And her title reign, like, she's had a couple defenses, but what are the stories that she's having? The story with Nyla Rose, like, there really wasn't a story there. It was just, all right, she is going to have a match with Nyla Rose at Battle of the Belts, and she beats Nyla Rose. Was the match good? It was okay, but there wasn't, like, any investment into it. Ty Conti, okay, she's won plenty of matches, and she has so many different matches and has challenged for world titles, and now she's doing this thing with Sammy Guevara. But what the hell is her character? Why are we invested in her? Maybe now she's getting a little bit more investment with this Sammy Guevara stuff.
I was going to say.
But before that, what's her character?
You need to feel emotion. You want the people to boo you, or you want them to cheer you. I mean, it shouldn't be the case where, as wrestling fans, yeah, we get it. We could go and we can watch a match and we can appreciate it. But look no further than the main event this past week on Dynamite. It wasn't a bad match, but was there really a reason to care about that match? If you're a hardcore fan, you could probably make the case that, you know what, this is a match that you got to see. Mercedes Martinez is actually an individual who I felt like for NXT, she was a little underutilized. But for that match itself, other than just being like, okay, we're getting a champion from what Impact, and then Mercedes Martinez, and saying this is like some type of quasi dream match. I mean, that's cool and all,
Right.
but at the same time, like, what is that really doing for the women's division? In my opinion, Britt Baker is the one that's done most of the heavy lifting for that women's division because she is a character. Her personality stands out, and not only that, but she delivers in the ring too.
Right, and I think when she was the women's champion, it just brought out that division and lifted it up so much, just because she actually provided stories during that title reign. Were they the best matches ever? Not really. She had some good matches, but at the same time, where's it going now that she's not the champion? Yeah. And even with this Owen Hart tournament, they're trying to push it, but really it's just, all right, let's stand these 4 women backstage. Let's have them stare at each other. Let's tell them they hate each other. But why? Why do they hate each other? They just hate each other because these 2 are heels and these 2 are baby faces. You're supposed to hate one and you're supposed to like the other. But you need a little bit more than that, because as much as people want to say that, wrestling fans can be stupid at times, you kind of have to lay it out there like they're stupid sometimes, and
you gotta give the people a reason to care.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there are some wrestlers, especially in the women's division, that are underutilized and really can bring out their characters if paired together with someone else. I think that would really help. First thing, I think the baddie section really helps this right now. You got Red Velvet and Kiera Hogan being a part of that. Add more to the baddie section. Let it grow to something. That just makes the aura of Jade Cargill even better, so that when someone beats her, now she's got these people that are going to help protect her winning streak too now. And everyone hates when a heel does heelish things to win matches. And if she's touting that she's 30-0, 40-0, 50-0, and she's doing it with the help of the baddies, that creates heat. And it's so easy, And
let me point this out really quick. So the rumor right now and the speculation is that there's a trios tag championship that's going to be rolled out fairly soon.
Right.
I would almost argue that, given this current affairs of AEW and the fact that they do have a lot of people that feel the women's division is underutilized, why not rather roll out a women's tag team division? You can give them a little more time. Like, I get it. Do I think that they have the most talent? No offense, I don't think that they're anywhere close to the level of talent that WWE has right now. I think that they have a handful of good women, but I don't think that they're at that point just yet. Can they get there? Yes. Do I think that adding tag team division for the women would help because you can get some people on TV a little bit more? I think so. I would rather see that and see some people like a Ruby Riott, Toni Storm get TV time, rather than them have them win a bunch of matches on Dark or wherever, and then all of a sudden they're in the top 5. And we talked about this. It's the rankings. That doesn't give me much investment. That doesn't really give me a reason to care. Oh, you're ranked number 3. Great. Who did you beat? When's the last time I saw you on TV? I'm not invested in that. I want to see like stories that get me into the matches and get me into the feud. That's why I was into Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, and even that was kind of like a lackluster kind of thrown together thing at the end of it. So
some other things they could do, like even WWE does this too, and I don't understand why. And someone brought this up in our comment section in the polls. Why don't you have some of these women in some of the men's factions? Someone like a Layla Hirsch, for example, who's a very good technical wrestler, still working on the character, I think. I think that's why she's not on TV as much. What if you put her in Team Taz or the Blackpool Combat Club and have her be part of that somehow? I know we see Julia Hart right now, for example, with this whole Varsity Blonde House of Black thing, which this is an example of, this is not long-term storytelling. This is just a long-ass time to tell a story.
Everything after the Brian Pillman Jr. promo, which we can't ever talk poorly of him because he was on the show.
Yeah.
Everything after that point and that whole segment, start to finish, after that, I thought was terrible.
Yeah.
I thought it was terrible.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and the whole, like, is she gonna, like, I think there's just some execution with these characters. And I think part of it too, and I've said this for years, even with WWE, one thing that these wrestlers need to do is not necessarily go into wrestling school. They need to go to improv school. Like, before you get on television, I don't care if you're the greatest wrestler of all time, you better at least know how to work a microphone. You don't need to be the best promo in the world. AEW, obviously, they're not having scripted promos, so that even makes it more important to send them to an improv school so they can think off the top of their heads and not be like, well, I'm told to do this and here are my bullet points and now I can't construct the sentence because I don't have acting experience.
Yeah.
And speaking of acting experience, they have wrestlers with acting experience that aren't doing anything. Nyla Rose has acting experience, and yet she's barely on television. Nyla Rose should be on TV more. I think
she's on TV. She's challenging for a championship and losing.
Right.
That's to somebody that's much smaller. So.
Right. And that's part of the problem too. Like they have these people that are bigger losing to smaller. And that's just an AEW problem across the board where they had outside of Wardlow, all these big guys end up losing these matches. I'd say get Nyla Rose on more. Hikaru Shida was one of the best things to start out when AEW first started. And now she kind of is, lost in the mud. What's her character? Find a character for her. That I think is really going to help too. Just find out. We talk about the 4 pillars of AEW. Who are the 4 pillars in AEW's women's division? Britt, Jade. That's it.
Good luck.
You need 2 more. If you're going to build the 4 pillars of the women's division, WWE has the 4 horsewomen, and they built that division with those 4 women. Where's AEW's 4? They have
not
2.
Not only that, but I mean, if you look at Sonya Deville, she's not even somebody that's like a regular in-ring performer, but she's on TV and she has a clearly defined character, and that has the ability to, she doesn't need to be the champion. She could just be somebody that challenges the champion or gets heat or whatever the case may be, and that's what AEW needs to try to do. Try and build up some more characters and stop focusing on just matches.
Right. And like, it's great that they have these matches, but give me a reason to get into the match. You can have a 20-minute long match and then I think they're giving them time just to give them time. That's a problem. You don't want to do that either. You got to make it a reason to put them on TV. Like have a story, have a big match, and it pays off. That's what the women's division needs to do. It's not that hard, Tony Khan. I don't understand why at this point, 3 years in, he's done it with the men's division. He's done it with some of the mid-carders and elevate them to, main eventers or close to main eventers, tag team division. But the women's division, it's just such a back burner division. And I don't understand why, but let us know what you guys think. What should Tony Khan do with the women's division? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Squared Circle Psychobabble.